Important new developments tonight in the case of imprisoned former Border Patrol agents Campion and Ramos, both sentenced to lengthy prison terms for shooting and wounding an illegal alien drug smuggler, whom the prosecutors then gave immunity to testify against the agents. One of the defense attorneys now says government prosecutors failed to disclose a key document during that trial, a document that could have undermined the government's entire case. Casey Ryan has the story.
At the heart of the prosecution's case against former Border Patrol agents Ignacio Ramos and Jose Campion was the alleged cover-up of the shooting of a Mexican illegal alien drug smuggler. Now, the online publication WorldNet Daily reports the existence of a Homeland Security Department document suggesting 2 Border Patrol supervisors were at the scene and knew about the shooting. That's consistent with the agents' statements that they did not report the shooting because they believed supervisors already knew about it. The attorney for Ignacio Ramos says prosecutors never disclosed the existence of the document, which could be grounds for a new trial.
The government is really charged with a higher responsibility than just winning a case. The government is charged with seeking justice and trying to do the right thing. So they can't hold back on evidence just because it's helpful to the defense, and in fact they have an obligation to turn that over.
The document lists the names of Border Patrol agents and supervisors who were at the scene. It also says investigation disclosed that none of the above agents reported the shooting or the subsequent cover-up.
The more that comes out about this case, the more it seems that the prosecution was relentless in making sure these border agents were convicted. And this is just another example of another piece of evidence that the defense should have known about, the jury should have known about during the trial to make their determination on whether these border agents even violated the law or not.
U.S. Attorney Johnny Sutton did not return calls seeking comment on the new evidence and other documents raising questions about his decision to prosecute the agents and grant immunity to an admitted drug smuggler.
I think our police officers and law enforcement have been undermined.
Meanwhile, Ramos and Campion supporters are raising money to buy airtime for these television ads, demanding the White House pardon the former agents. Finally, the Texas branch of the Latino advocacy group LULAC has drafted a resolution supporting a pardon for Ramos and Campion. LULAC says it believes the 11 and 12-year sentences were too harsh. Lou?
Well, it's, 4 months since the sentencing? LULAC taking this stand, I have to give them credit. They have been absolutely absent in this case, despite the fact that both of these agents are Hispanic Americans. Did they have any indication as to why they were joining in this now?
No, they did not. We asked them for further clarification, more information about this position they've taken. They didn't give it to us. We're still hoping we'll get it soon. What we did find out, though, is a couple of other leading Latino advocacy groups, MALDEF and the National Council of La Raza, still are refusing to take a position on this issue, Lou.
One would think to their great shame. Thank you very much, Casey Wyan from Los Angeles, joining me now on these developments and to assess their importance as senior legal analyst here at CNN, Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey, what do you make of this disclosure?
You know, some of the developments after the trial I don't think have been of great legal significance. Second thoughts of jurors, things like this. This is potentially very significant because it may violate 2 core provisions of prosecutors. One is that prosecutors have to give all statements of witnesses at the trial to the defense, and they also have to give all exculpatory information to the defense. This statement appears to be a violation of both of those duties.
Now, we have reported on this broadcast before that there were supervisors present at the scene of that incident. The fact that the prosecutors would not turn that over, the fact that the Inspector General of Homeland Security would lie to congressmen about the state of mind and the statements of those 2 agents, that U.S. Attorney Johnny Sutton would lie saying that he had no choice but to give immunity to the drug dealer in order to prosecute, when in point of fact the drug dealer had admitted 6 days previous to that limited use immunity deal that he was in fact moving drugs. Those seem to me to be very important.
Well, and this is important because it fits into a legal category that does get people new trials sometimes. When evidence that could be very significant is not turned over, that's the kind of thing that trial courts grant new trials on, or appeals courts overturn convictions on.
Mary Sillinger, the attorney for Ignacio Ramos, says this document, the DHS document, could have proved her client innocent, is her statement. She says it falls under the Supreme Court's 1963 decision, Brady versus Maryland. Can you put that into some context that we can understand here?
Brady versus Maryland is the decision by Justice William O. Douglas that said any exculpatory evidence, any evidence that tends to show a defendant is innocent, must be turned over to the defense. You know, in the everyday world of criminal law, people talk about Brady material all the time. Is it Brady? You got to turn over your Brady material. If it's not turned over and it's significant, and the prosecution may say this is not significant, but if it's significant, that gets convictions reversed.
And the fact is, these agents remain in prison on the testimony of an admitted drug smuggler with a prosecution that was far more committed to going after two agents than learning any more about the drug cartel that is operating almost with impunity in the El Paso area in the northern parts of Mexico, nearest El Paso.
And no bail pending appeal, which is pretty unusual when you have defendants with such roots in the community.
This is, as far as I can see, no American's idea of justice. What's your thought?
Well, it is shocking that something like this would come out at this late date, and it seems like new stuff is coming out all the time, and it's important for a court to take a look at it.
And in terms of investigating how this happened, the Democratic Congress shows absolutely zero interest in this, because this Democratic Congress is committed to comprehensive immigration reform, as they call it, which is amnesty and open borders. Is there no path here for the American people to learn what has happened?
No. Unless the Congress acts, no. I mean, that is all that's left, because this legal proceeding has moved on to the Court of Appeals, unless they can make some kind of new trial motion. But this case, if people want it investigated, it's Congress or it's nothing.
Well, we're going to continue our humble efforts to bring
as many, that's another
many
point.
facts to light as possible. And Jeffrey, we appreciate you being here. Thank you, as always, for your insight and analysis. That brings us to the subject of our poll tonight. Do you believe that in light of this new evidence brought forward, former Border Patrol agents Ramos and Campion should be granted a new trial? Yes or no? Cast your vote. It's at LouDobbs.com. We'll bring the results here later. Coming up next, Congressman Barney Frank will join us. He wants to block the president's free hand on free trade that's resulted in the loss of millions of American jobs and, oh yes, about $5 trillion in trade debt. And in the war on this country's middle class, more and more women entering the workforce, not as expression of their personal freedom or choice, but just so their families can survive.